After 25 years, I decided I had to stop this drinking. I had to cut it back. And now I'm traveling more. I'm healthier than ever. I'm happier than I've ever been. And most of all, I'm proud of who I've become. And this makes me really think, what would I have accomplished if I didn't actually drink this last 25 years? Where would I be today? Now, obviously, we can't change the past, but we can at least adjust to make the future better. So I want to talk about how I actually quit, how I deal with being sober in this new life, how I deal with friends that do drink and smoke, and finally, if I do decide to have a beer or four, how things actually go. So let's get into the first one, my path to actually quit drinking. Now, the crazy part about when I quit drinking is I did it in Vietnam. Vietnam is notoriously an alcoholic country, and it's not just the expats, it's the locals. People here have a blood content all the time. It's just what we do. We drink, we smoke. This is Vietnam. And I was in a small town just north of Vung Tau called Phu Mai, if I said that right. And this town was no exception. It was actually even more drinking, a whole lot more karaoke, and the city smelled like a cigarette. But this is where I quit everything. And I'm not going to get into the emotional battles of it, but I will say some things that helped me along the way. The first one was Alan Carr's book, How to Stop Smoking. This book was weird to me. The idea of what it was doing was it was making you become aware of the addiction, where when you were smoking, you were thinking, wow, this actually does taste like crap. What I started doing when it came to the smoking was the Alan Carr thing. It was very much connected to my drinking. The drinking part is where things got different. Instead of going through these AA meetings and going through these steps, which I don't feel were really a benefit for me. They didn't help me at all. They actually made things worse for me. So I went about it a different way. I went through it as an engineer. When we have a problem with something, we don't just like put a Band-Aid on it. We figure out the core problem and we build back up, right? So I started to study and research what alcohol actually does to the body. Why do I feel happy? Why do I feel like crap in the next day? And what happens 3 or 4 years down the road? And when I started realizing the actual effects, I started to feel bad for myself. When I would see my friends drink, I would start feeling bad for them. Like, holy shit, do you even understand you're getting leaky gut right now? That was really the biggest part of it. Is I just realized the actual negative effects over the positive. And I started understanding why the positive things were happening, which were just more of a Band-Aid on a real problem. So once I realized that, the idea and the goal was like just to cut down the drinking. Like, hey, maybe like 2 or 3 beers every couple of days, something like that. So when I was in Thailand, I was out in Rayon, I challenged myself. I'm only going to drink on the weekends. That was the goal. Right. And when I started to do this challenge, I had a problem. I couldn't not drink every day. I started making deals with myself. Like, I'll just get a 3-pack tonight and I'll do some of my work. And the crazy part about it was I would go home with these 3 beers. I would drink them. I would get drunk. And I would go to the store and get more beer, never finishing the agreement of work that I set out to do. So I just got drunker. And this is when I really started realizing I have an addiction. So I put that idea of I have an addiction, I admitted to it, to what was actually happening to me when I drank. And that's where everything ended. And that's when the drinking stopped. So ideally, I quit drinking and smoking in tandem cold turkey. And it was just realizing I had an addiction and learning why it was doing what it was doing to me. Why was I getting happy when I got drunk? Was what really made me understand that I needed to stop. Now, after I realized this and I quit drinking, this is when things got kind of weird. And this takes us to number 2, the new life that I started to create for myself. I started to realize how stupid it was to drink. Like, just the stupidity of it. Like, you're just getting drunk, you're losing your mind, you're doing stupid things, waking up, having to apologize to people. And on top of that, I'm eating pointlessly, I'm getting more overweight, by definition, obese. And I was chain smoking like no other. When I did go out with my friends and I had this new knowledge in my head about the effects of it and why we were doing what we were doing, I started feeling bad for other people. So now I'm like battling this addiction mentally. I'm trying to quit, but I'm also seeing my friends drink, feeling bad for them because I know what it's doing to them. I know that they're going to hurt themselves because of this and the stupid things they're going to do. I also started to realize how pointless it was. Most bar food, despite what people think, isn't that good. It's rather bad, actually, and it's full of carbs and sugars and refined oils. The beer, you're paying 4 or 5 times the price. You're paying $8 for 5 hot wings. You're paying all these extra fees. If you start listening, this is what really caught me, is if you go to these bars, hang out with your friends, and listen to the conversations being talked. Stay sober, drink sparkling water, but listen, it's like the same 3 or 4 conversations repeated over and over and over, and there's never really a solution to the conversations. It's just endless, mindless talking. And after 7 or 8 beers, these same conversations are happening, but it's just sluggish. Now it's like, I missed one time. It's just pointless. Being sober, going to the bar and realizing this was a really big eye-opener on top of understanding what it was doing to me. When you quit drinking immediately, you start eating like crazy. And the reason for it is if you drink, what was I doing? Like 15 to 20 beers a day. I am taking in 2,500 to 3,200 calories every day, empty calories. So my body needs that sugar replenished. So when I quit drinking, my body's like, yo, where's your sugar? Where's the insulin at, right? So I had to change things up. And this is when I jumped into keto and I started doing a lot of activity so I could burn those sugar levels and also force the keto process a little faster. This is when I got into dry fasting, when I got into wet fasting, and really just switched up my body's mindset and how things worked. And the first thing I got into was jump roping. And the funny thing about the jump roping is I didn't even have a jump rope. I was just sitting there like a dork in my condo jump roping, like I would be jump roping, right? I was watching Floyd Mayweather and Mike Tyson videos on their jump roping techniques, and I mastered them. And then I bought a jump rope, and I was like, holy shit, I can jump rope like Muhammad Ali now. And that was the crazy part. But once I got past the jump roping, which, mind you, helped me lose about 15 to 16 kilos, I lost just jump roping for about 4 or 5 months. It was insane. I was on a keto diet, jump roping. That's it. No more alcohol, just focused. And then once I got that up, I started getting into rock climbing. I believe it's called bouldering. I got into calisthenics, the Chris Harrier program, and I started reading more. I started getting back into the Torah. I started reading books on like what to do when you're 60. You know, I'm not 60, but I was trying to understand what to do when you've wasted so much of your life, because I truly do feel like I wasted 25, 30 years of my life. So I wanted to know, what can I do to fast forward and get back to where I should be in time, right? And the byproduct was really weird. I was living there at the time. I had a PS5. I was playing this Assassin's Creed game. I forget what it was. It was the Odyssey or something like that. But I was playing this game and I could sit there all day, a 24 pack of 333 beer, Saigon green beer, drink all that beer, drink some Red Bulls, and just go all day. Order some grab food, fried chicken, and just play all day. And I do this for like 3 weeks straight. No breaks, just binge, right? When I quit drinking, I would sit down and play these games. And after 10 minutes, I would get angry. I would literally get frustrated. I would stand up and be like, what am I doing? This isn't paying rent. This game is stupid. And I'm not saying Assassin's Creed is stupid. I think it's an awesome game series. But sitting there for 3 weeks straight, 10 to 12 hours a day, I started realizing how stupid it was. I started catching bad habits where I was just wasting time, staring at walls, going places I don't need to be, looking at my phone, doom scrolling. Like things like my cell phone now, I don't even have social media no more. My phone is 100% for work. Even my desktop is jet black. Like there's nothing on it. I love it. It's a focus machine for me at this point. So when I quit drinking, I started filtering out a lot of the things that just wasted my time, that were pure entertainment over value. Now I've got rid of all these bad habits. I quit drinking, I quit smoking. I'm overly healthy, but there's a problem. The friends around me still drink a lot. When you're living in third world countries, you don't really have the luxury of just making new friends. You're very restricted out here. So this is where things got challenging. And like I've already said before, I was going to these bars sober, drinking my soda water or sparkling water, I guess, if you're American. And I was just talking to my friends, hanging out. And I'm going to be honest, talking to my friends when they're drinking is actually extremely fun because my mind is in the correct mode. I can take notes if I hear good ideas and we can build up ideas. But after that 5, 6, 7 beer thing, it becomes redundant, same conversations, a waste of time. And I started to realize after a couple hours, I would just leave. I'd be like, hey guys, I'm going to get home. I got an appointment, or, I'd make up a lie, or I'm going to go hit the gym or something like that. And they couldn't do this stuff. They were drunk. They're not going to go to a gym and bench press or do calisthenics with me when they've had like 9 beers, right? And so I started becoming the early guy, right? So I would be invited to like the early parties. I never got invited to like the late night pub runs and stuff like that. And that was honestly perfectly fine because I started realizing my friends were respecting that I just didn't drink no more. And they weren't pushing it against me, which is something I respect them for to this day. And when I did go out with them, they were drinking, they were smoking all this hoopla. And it's all around me. They got hookahs, they got cigarettes, they got cigars, they're drinking beer, whiskey, whatever they're drinking. Because I understood why alcohol was hurting me, what the addictions were, why when I drank beer, I felt happy. When I understood the actual fundamentals of this, going out with these friends, I didn't feel like I was actually fighting an urge or a temptation no more. I was just enjoying my time. I wasn't sitting there like, maybe just one. Like those cravings and those addictions went away. So if there was one piece of advice when it comes to how to quit, when it came down to me, is to understand why you have the addiction and understand how the addiction is taking a hold of you. Don't focus too much on quitting and fighting temptations and staying away from everybody that does whatever your temptation is, which is probably a smart thing to do. So I'm not saying you have to, but again, living in Vietnam, I didn't have the luxury of just getting rid of my friends that drink, because that was literally everybody. I'm not going to sit in a third world country alone. But I will say over time, I started meeting other people. Going to these bars, I would be talking. I'd meet other girls, I'd meet other dudes out there, and we would just start having intelligent conversations. Because the crazy thing is, and I never really paid attention to this in my entire life, is when you go to bars, not everybody's drunk. A lot of people I met, business people, government official people, weren't there drinking. They were there just socializing with their friends that drink. And I started meeting a lot of these sober people, and I started building good connections. This is how I started my first online business, was going through this process. So it's not a bad thing to go to these bars if you don't drink. But before you go that route, you have to get over that hump of fighting a temptation and an addiction. You have to understand why there's a problem. And that's what I did. And I have to say this again for the third time. This isn't going to work for everybody. This just worked for me. If you just quit drinking, don't be like, oh, David said go to a bar, I'm going to go to a bar and do it. It doesn't work that way. I thought different. I looked at how it did. In the book of Alan Carr that I told you about, during that reading of the book, he tells you to go out and smoke and think about different ideas. He tells you to do different smoking activities. It made you really break apart the problem. Again, like the engineering, I started finding why alcohol was making me happy. When I realized why, I realized it wasn't happiness. It was pretty much getting rid of my senses. So if you are going to go out there, not drink, not smoke, and be around other people that don't drink, but understand what the addiction is and how you are going to get over it. You do not want to be there battling mentally, trying to not drink. That is not the best thing to do. If you are still in that position, you are not ready to be going to bars with your friend being the sober guy. Not yet. Don't push it. Don't test it. It's not worth it. And this brings us to the last part. Do I still drink? Now, a lot of you guys watch this video, be it in a members group or just people that have seen me in these different videos. I do drink sometimes. I do smoke sometimes. But the difference now is I'm doing it in a casual, controlled means at this point. I will say the smoking usually is linked to my drinking. So when I do have 3 or 4 beers, I might have a cigarette or 3. But when I do go out, I'm not out here getting take like before. I'm not going to these Louisville bars, drinking 25 beers, taking shots left and right. These things aren't happening. I'm stopping myself mentally. I have understood. And just recently, we had a members meetup, and we were drinking. After I got to that 3rd beer, I started thinking about, how do I feel right now? What am I doing? I've smoked 3 cigarettes. I've had 3 beers, and I'm starting to slur a little. I'm starting to say stupid things. And I would back away almost. I would almost become the quiet guy at the bar. I would push everything kind of away, and I would slow everything down. So I was having the control while I was losing it almost, if that makes sense. But I understood that there was a problem. And this was a big part of it. I was overly aware of what was going on in the situation. I had self-awareness even when I was drinking a little. And I'm going to tell you, not drinking for like years and then having 3 beers, draft tall beers, will get you trashed, even though you could drink 25 before, right? And the great thing about it, I was out with Jason, another one of our members, G, and they weren't pushing anything. They weren't crazy, like my friends back in the day when I was a teacher. So when I did slow down, I didn't have to say anything, and they didn't push it. One good thing about this is just having good friends and good company around you. So make sure if you are deciding to go out for a night and break your sober train and have a few beers, make sure it's not with crazy, chaotic party college students and friends, but it's with people that have responsibilities, that have families back home. Don't go out with the crazy people out here for a weekend. You will fall into it most likely. And the best thing about all this, after those nights I went drinking, I didn't drink the next day. I didn't wake up saying, nah, I need a cigarette. Or after 5 p.m., I'm like, oh, it's time to go get another beer. None of that really came up for me mentally or physically. I was just not thinking about it. I'd get a water, I'd go do my calisthenics, and I was good to go. And I want to add to that with the calisthenics. I'm going to say I've lost right about 25, 30 kilos in total, which is right about 25, 35 pounds, give or take. The physique that I see when I wake up, take a shower, look in the mirror is probably one of the most motivating things I've ever seen. I literally have what people look in magazines say, damn it, one day I'm going to have that. And then they grab a beer. That used to be me. I live it now. So with that being said, I hope this video gives you an insight of what my life was like when I was going through drinking, when I quit drinking, and how I deal with it afterwards. In short, I didn't quit drinking 100%. I do have my casual drinks. It's usually 1 or 2 beers and I'm done with it. There's this idea, one of my old fitness mentors back in the day told me, you can never outwork a bad diet. And if you're drinking all the time, you're drinking empty calories, and you're having empty calories take up what you should be eating in vegetables, fruits, meats, and stuff like that. So if you're doing that, you're just getting fatter. And for what? a short dopamine kick, it's not worth it. If you have any other questions, guys, let me know below. And if you haven't seen my older videos on how I quit drinking in the process day by day, check out the videos below. And if you are in the members group, ask away if you have any questions. I can give you the best advice I can on what I went through. And hopefully I can, because drinking, honestly, at the end of the day, it's just not worth it no more. So with that being said, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Thanks for watching. I will see you again.